possible to do it that way also.
And pull the trigger with your thumb. It's possible.
It's possible, yeah.
But a guy who uses a gun all the time isn't going to pull the trigger with his thumb. But my point is, we're way off of where I was trying to go initially.
No, I did want to mention that the broken teeth, though, and that is the gun's front sight totally could have pulled out of it. Could have not.
Yeah, he could have knocked out his bottom teeth, or it could have been the recoil popped out his top front teeth.
Yeah.
Either way, but what I'm getting at is that he didn't shoot himself through the top of the skull.
Yeah, no, and that's why the exit wound was 7 millimeters versus 9.
Because it went out the back of his neck, which is all muscle and skin, and under pressure, those things are going to expand to the 9 millimeter, and then they're going to, because they're elastic, snap back into position.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's the one thing I want to talk about when the autopsy reports, and it couldn't have been this, and somebody else had to do it. It was a different caliber gun.
I don't know. I guess I generally assume that, I don't know. I would have assumed, this may be a false assumption, but I would assume that the coroners that were hired later would have been made aware of his position and would have factored that in.
They weren't made aware of any position, though. They weren't given any details.
They were just handed a body.
The he kneeled down part?
Yeah.
That's speculation on the part of the Vatican that we have all then jumped on board with, and we're running with right now.
Yeah,
right.
exactly.
So exactly. So it could have been a 7 millimeter exit wound.
It's possible. The other thing is that there's the blood and the mucus in his lungs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. If you shoot yourself through the neck, you don't die immediately. So it's entirely plausible that he lay there alive for, I don't know, 10, 15, 20 minutes?
Yeah.
Bleeding.
Yeah.
Which would have gone into his lungs.
Sure.
Yeah.
Entirely possible.
Yeah. So
but you do go back to the people who try to commit suicide, the brain reaction of, oh crap, I don't want to do this. The fact that you would lay there seems unlikely. You would probably crawl, try to get to something.
Well, he probably had severed his spine.
Exactly.
I mean, he probably was not able to do anything.
But then he wouldn't have been able to swallow. It would have been drooling out.
It would have run down his throat, though, depending on exactly how he's laying.
Yeah,
it could have just been running down his throat.
It's hard. All I know from first aid is that you have to put people in really specific positions for recovery to open up the esophagus and to open all of the lung and whatever, trachea, whatever. You have to put people in really specific positions. So yes, it is possible that he fell into, luckily, exactly the right position so that all went down into his lungs. But it's also possible that didn't happen and something else happened.
No, I
think it's a good thing to bring up.
Yes, because people get on the drum and they start beating the drum of it's the conspiracy, he was killed early. That's why I want to bring these things up. That went way farther. I don't think we've ever had this much hand waving in the fake gun in this studio before.
We're talking about an Italian story. I don't know what you want.
Awesome.
I know, we're all sticking our fingers in our mouth. Before we wrap up theory number 3, after that little run through the weeds there, and again, we're talking about the whole struggle between Opus Dei and Masonic faction.
The Masons, yeah.
The Masons. Well, excuse me, right? That's why I don't believe this one at all, because there's Masons in the Vatican. I mean, really?
No, the right? No.
No, I mean, yeah, it's actually, you can be excommunicated if you're for being a member of the Masons, of the Freemasons, if you're a Catholic. I mean, the idea that there's Masonic factions in the Vatican is just ludicrous.
They are. They're
Yeah.
Christian, but I don't think they're Catholic.
They're anti-Catholic in their original form, and I think that your average Mason today, I don't know how many are left actually.
Millions.
But yeah, I think they've become more secularized and all that stuff. They're not as anti-Catholic. The original Masons way back in the day used to be anti-Catholic, and they were actually committed to the destruction of the Catholic Church. And so it's actually really against the rules if you're a Catholic to be a Mason. And it really doesn't make any sense either. It's completely contrary to Catholic doctrine, because the Masons believe that basically it doesn't really matter what religion you are, as long as you behave well, then that's all that matters.
Would this be equivalent to? I'm just trying to put this in a kind of a different light or a different analogy. Would this be the same as saying somebody who is really into communism is running for office in our country as a running as, say, a Democrat? Would that be the same thing where their personal views, according to what we know, would be so 180 degrees from what they're moving towards? Like I'm trying to figure out exactly how this works.
I think it would be more like I don't think that the communists and the Democrats are completely incongruous, but it'd be more like a communist running as a Republican.
What they say is that Masonry runs parallel to Catholicism, right? And that they will never intersect. They will never
boil the water.
Yeah.
Yeah. No.
Pretty much.
Well,
yeah. Because I think that the belief of Masonry, and I'm sure we'll do an episode on this at some point, but the belief of Masonry or Freemasonry or whatever is that one can be pleasing to God or whatever you may believe in any spiritual tradition.
Yeah, essentially.
It is not required that you are a Christian, that you believe in Christ, that you're a Catholic, that you follow these rules to be pleasing to God.
Right.
And that is super not okay with Catholics.
Now, and most churches are that way, really, but the Catholic Church especially is, this is the one true faith.
This is it.
And so it's a total contradiction in terms to be a Catholic and a Mason.
Okay, see, I don't get, but we've had this conversation before.
Yeah.
Like, I just never get religion.
I think you just, I think that you don't not get it. I think you just zone out.
It's
maybe just white noise.
I don't know. Like, I can never get the theology and therefore follow all the trains of thought.
Sure.
But let's move forward, sir. I know you've got more.
So that's why just a one or two more. But yeah, anyway. So Masonic factions versus Opus Dei. I'm not buying it. Okay, next theory number 4. Esterman was a spy for East German intelligence in the 1980s.
Okay.
Stasi, the infamous Stasi. The Vatican found out and had him killed. Tournay was just a patsy.
Copy paste.
Yeah,
I think this is like verging on plagiarism at this point.
Yeah, plagiarizing myself. Yeah. This is actually from a book called The Secret Agent of the Vatican by a journalist named Victor Guittard. Guittard? I don't know.
Guittard?
Yeah, I'm through trying to pronounce these damn names. See, people get names like John.
Yeah. American names.
Yeah, American.
Yeah,
anyway,
thanks for alienating all of our overseas listeners. You too.
We love you. I'm sorry we can't pronounce anything like Lester.
Yeah.
Lester.
Yeah. So this is something I was not able to actually find any real. I couldn't really validate this one. Supposedly, the former director of Stasi, Marcus Wolf, said that Esterman had been a spy for them since 1979. But I can't find any actual documentation.
That's silly.
Were you guys able to find any?
Uh-huh.
Oh, did you? Okay.
Steve's pointing to a book.
I'm pointing back to the same book because I love my local library.
Yeah.
And that's where I got this book.
Yeah.
So the rumor that the Stasi had a mole in the Vatican,
which I'm sure they would have loved to have had.
They would have loved to have had, quite likely, but and I didn't this, so I can't give you the code name of that agent. But everybody said, well, that agent was in the Vatican, except that agent wasn't in the Vatican, and the group that this so-called mole was affiliated with, they looked at internal issues in East Germany. I believe it was East Germany, they couldn't look at places like the Vatican because they weren't allowed to look at those places. So that one really, I think, is one that's just been spun up and spun up and spun up.
Yeah.
Maybe by the author of said book that you mentioned there. I don't know.
Yeah.
But everything that I've seen, especially in most of it that seemed concrete, came from Fulane, but it seems made up.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, there's even a like a little branch off of this one, which is he was not just a spy, but he also participated actually in the assassination attempt in 1981 of John Paul II, which was run by essentially. I mean, there were a lot of fingers in that particular pie, but essentially it was mostly run by Bulgarian intelligence, from what I've heard, and so.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And so if he was an agent of the Stasi, and of course these guys were all cooperating, then they could have very well gotten information about Jean Paul's movements, or maybe gotten him to just like step aside for a moment or two,
lollygag a little bit,
and But there's again, I find no credible evidence for this at all.
You know the worst part about the assassination attempt on the Pope in '81?
Yeah.
Do you know what the Swiss Guard were supposed to do when they were following the car?
No, what?
Watch the Pope.
Watch the Pope? Yeah,
They didn't look at the crowd. They didn't look for danger. They weren't looking around. Their job was to be there and stare at the Pope the whole time.
I mean, maybe you think that maybe one guy could be assigned to stare at the Pope the whole time, and the rest of them could. Yeah.
I mean, there's crowds of people staring at the Pope. Come on, let's stop staring at the Pope.
Let's just buy him a Pope-mobile, actually.
Well, yeah, obviously we know that eventually happened.
Yeah.
It's got a cool Pope-mobile.
Yeah.
That is no longer in use.
Just sad. I thought the Pope-mobile was awesome. I'd drive it everywhere.
I would love to have a Pope-mobile.
I would drive it. Joe would be standing up in the little box waving at everybody.
I'm the Swiss Guard, apparently.
Yeah, you walk next to the car.
Great.
Yeah.
Any other theories here?
The Pope-mobile looks like it's hot on a summer day.
Any other theories?
I've got only one more theory. And this is last theory. Theory number 5.
5?
Yeah, number 5. It was a love triangle.
Ooh.
I know.
With him and with Tournay and Easterman.
And Esterman, yeah.
Esterman, not Easterman. I'm sorry.
Apparently, maybe things weren't always so bad between those two. There's a rumor out there that Tournay was bisexual.
Sure.
And there were also rumors that Esterman was also bisexual. And they had, I've heard anywhere from a two-year love affair to just a little fling. But that apparently Esterman sort of threw Tournay over for another guy, and
or a lady, or his wife.
No, it was another. It was supposedly another man in the Swiss Guard, according to this theory.
And actually, I hate to be putting theories like this out. These guys are dead. They can't speak for themselves or anything like that. But
they were.
Theory.
But they were also Catholic. I mean, so the Catholic Church, by and large, is particularly at this time. These days, it's a little more accepting, but at this time, to be gay and a Catholic was just like one of the largest sins.
Actually, no, it's okay to be a gay and a Catholic.
No.
Even then, it was okay.
You just can't act on it.
You just can't act on it.
So it's a sin
perfectly okay to be gay.
Actively be gay. Whatever. To actually act on your impulses, that was the sin. And if you're part of the Swiss Guard, right, you're part of the elite of the Catholic Church.
So it's scandalous.
It's a huge scandal. You wouldn't necessarily.
If this actually were true, then you would think that sooner or later that they would have found out about it in the Vatican, and that might account for a little bit of the lack of transparency.
Yeah.
They don't want
to hide things up.
They don't want to tell the whole story,
I've read all these accounts as well, and I'm going to take the same approach as Joe, which is I feel really bad for bad-mouthing these guys and saying these things about them that we can't substantiate. But the hard part is there are all of the stories that I think everybody has heard of gay priests and all the things. I mean, there's stories of, lack of a better term, sex parties in the Vatican. Now, none of this is substantiated, but you hear these stories, so it's like, I don't believe that. Well, I've heard it enough times. Maybe. No, I don't believe it. Like, I'm really torn on that. Like, I don't believe it. One's engaged, one is married. You'd think that would stop it, but then again, a lot of people have put on the airs and hidden it for ages and ages.
Yeah.
I don't know where I stand on that.
No, it's hard to say. I don't think the proof is exactly conclusive for this particular one. So I don't know. It's time to flip a coin, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah. Which theory are you guys liking?
Devin?
I don't know. I don't necessarily like any of them.
Yeah.
I mean, I think I really like to say there's something really nefarious going on. That's kind of my...
That's always more fun.
It's more fun, you know? It's more fun to say, oh, the Vatican totally had these dudes offed for whatever reason.
Yeah, they had this creepy monk who liked to flagellate himself and murder him.
That's so much more fun.
Oh, yeah.
And I think that the evidence is strong that Tournay was probably not the kind of guy to just go shoot two people and then himself in cold blood. But I also don't know that there's a good theory about what was going on. I don't know. I don't think there's any. None of them are good to me.
Yeah, I think even though I hate to say it, I think the whole gay thing between Esterman and Tournay really makes it a little more credible when you think about it. Because you're not, even though obviously he
jilted lover.
Yeah, jilted lover is a lot more big.
That's way better for me than like, I
didn't get my medal. Yeah.
I'm not in it, but I'm not in it, so I don't know how important the medal was to Tournay. But to me, it's the jilted lover is a stronger thing.
Yeah. So that's a stronger motivation.
It would also help explain more why the Vatican has been so hush hush about it, right?
Yeah,
they didn't necessarily want to say these guys were kind of acting on their sin.
Mm-hmm.
And for the record, I don't think that saying these two dudes were gay is bad mouthing them, but
but we don't know that that's true. That's I think where Joe and I are both going. Is that there's nothing wrong with being gay. It's saying, they must have been gay.
They must have been gay lovers.
Yeah, of course.
Absolutely.
There's an overt tone there that shouldn't be.
Absolutely. I think that it's a total option, and there's certainly some fair proof for it, but also there's fair proof for lots of other things. So who knows, honestly.
I personally, I feel bad. I think that, as amazing as this is going to sound, I think the Vatican story is right.
It probably is.
Because of the stuff that I've read of all of the BS that Tournay put up with.
Yeah.
I think...
the straw that broke the camel's back.
Straw that broke the camel's back. I mean, think about it. You ever had a roommate that you really don't like? And, and wait, no. You haven't lived with them a couple of months. You've lived with them a couple of years, and all of a sudden, they leave a plate on the countertop, and you lose your mind and go crazy at them.
It's something like that. Yeah. Something. Yeah.
I can see this same thing, is that you've got a boss that you hate, and then one day he does something that is just so dumb and you can't take it anymore, and you lose your mind.
Yeah.
And that's where I think I don't buy into the Vatican's. He had a tumor. He was high on pot. Like, all that stuff. I think that they were hedging their bets with. Mm-hmm. But I think he snapped.
Yeah.
I think he just had enough.
I think it's possible. And I feel bad for the guy. Really, I kind of like, when doing my research, I am reading about Tournay. He seemed like a likable guy.
He seemed like a happy dude. And you know the thing was, he's going to get his medal. He was going to go home. He was going to start his career wherever he was going.
Else. I wish he had done that.
The Swiss Guard, but he couldn't. See, that's the problem. He couldn't do it if he didn't get the medal.
I know. He needed to get the medal.
The medal was the proof that he did it, and that he did it right.
Exactly. So
that's,
so Esterman was totally screwing him over.
Whether it was Esterman or somebody else that said that he couldn't get it, I don't know who, but that's, he got screwed in the end.
Yeah, he really did.
He's the victim.
And not the patsy, the victim.
Yeah. Okay, so we solved that mystery. Now let me give you
totally solved.
Yeah, let me give you some relevant facts here. You're probably dying to find our website. Of course, you've probably already been there, but in case you haven't, thinkingsidewayspodcast.com. You can leave us a comment, check links. We'll have links to all of our episodes, and you can listen to episodes from there. You can also find us on iTunes. Please subscribe. Leave us a review. That would be awesome. We like reviews, especially nice reviews. Yeah, we prefer kind of nice reviews. I mean, be honest.
We don't like being called idiots so much.
Yeah, no. Yeah. As far as streaming, you can stream us from all kinds of different places.
Literally.
Can you guys name a dozen?
No.
No? Okay.
I can name 3.
Name 3? Name them.
You jerk. Stitcher, Podcatcher, and Podbay.
All right, there you go. Next up, find us on Facebook.
I might have made one of those up.
Yeah, okay. Pod
Facebook?
people. Yeah, Facebook. Find us on Facebook. We are on Facebook. Just, and friend us, like us, leave
a
comments.
Group and a page.
Well, that's right. We do have a group and a page. I forgot about the group. I must forget about the group. Also, we are on Twitter. Thinking Sideways. That's thinking, not thinking. And our last of all, if you want to send us an email, that'd be great. Email address is thinkingsidewayspodcast@gmail.com.
And we've actually started this new thing. We posted on Reddit, and I think we posted on our